going to kill you, Harry Potter! I'm pointing my wand as hard as I can!
What is it gonna take, Tom? You tried to kill me once as a baby and it didn't work.
I'm going to destroy you!
We've beaten you like 4 or 5 times already, and I just came back from the dead!
La 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 la, I'm not listening, too busy about to kill you!
You are insane! And now we're about to kill your pet snake.
I'm awesome!
It's over!
It's never over! Harmonic attack! Ah. Muggle weapon.
Professor Snape, you're alive!
Of course I'm alive, you twit.
But how? You died right in front of us!
Magic, duh.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 45 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast for November 11th, 2016. I'm your podcast host, Josh Kaiser, and joining me in Hogwarts today, the Seeker, Josh Haddix.
What's going on, everybody?
And Kyle Hagrid Hoagland.
I like the alliteration. What's going on?
How you guys doing?
Very good. Very good.
I'm getting myself ready for going on vacation in the next 2 weeks, so it's just been kind of a hectic run around the house, making sure everything's kind of cleaned up and the animals are taken care of and all that good stuff.
You're
going to be gone for 2 weeks?
I'll be gone 2 weeks. I'm working from home, going to Houston, Texas. That's where my wife's oldest sister and her husband, their 2 kids, live. And we didn't get to see them when they visited out in Ohio in the summer, obviously, because we don't live there anymore. So we decided to take that opportunity to see them during those 2 weeks and spend Thanksgiving with them. So I'll be working from home that first week, and then the second week I will be unavailable completely.
So by working from home, you mean just working down there?
I'm just going to I'll be probably sitting on a bed full of doilies and just working.
There'll be no doily podcasting for you then, huh?
I don't think so. I'll say unofficially I will not be part of the next 2 podcasts. Maybe I'll make a surprise, return if whatever, but I've learned that it wasn't the best choice during a holiday vacation to take 2 of those days to do podcasts. I had a good time.
Apparently, the wife frowns upon podcasting when in the doily room when the rest of the family is celebrating seeing you guys for the rare time you're in town.
Well, I think the whole thing was it probably wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't the fact that one of those days literally everybody was over to say goodbye. It was the day before. It was we record on Thursdays. Back then we still do record on Thursdays, but that was, I think that next day or day after was Haddix's birthday party thing. And so that Thursday was the last day that all of us would have been available to hang out with the family. And so, took 2 hours on my day and record a podcast. Doesn't exactly go, didn't go very well.
So what you're saying is there's a good chance we're not going to be hearing Hoagie PNPers as we discuss the rest of our Harry Potter month. So it may just be the Haddix and Kaiser show.
You guys should get the Superfan on. She's got a boner for this stuff.
Well, we're going to have a weird recording schedule ourselves if we do it because, like you said, Thanksgiving is going to be coming up. So we'll have to see how things fall together, but it'll be fun. This is going to be our Harry Potter month in honor of the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I believe is what the title of the movie's coming out. We thought that we'd save our month of Harry Potter for now. So we're going to, that's what, the month's going to be about. This first week we're just going to discuss sort of the world of Harry Potter and the, kind of the first 7 books, the movies, that kind of thing. Next week we're going to review The Cursed Child, which of course was the new book that came out this past July. and then we'll wrap the month up reviewing the movie. So should be
which might be just best anyways that I'm not there because I did not read the book and I probably will not be able to see the movie. I do want to see the movie. I probably will not be able to while I'm down there.
What you should do is say, forget you to Kat and her family, go out and see the movie by yourself, and then hop in a podcast with us afterwards. That's probably
I don't know how lonely it would be for me, a 32-year-old male, going to see that movie by myself.
It's not, it's commitment is what that's called.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, let's jump into things. And before we do get into today's topic, why don't we go around like we like to do and sort of discuss how big a fan you are of the Harry Potter series, and also sort of when you got into it. So, we can kind of see where everybody stands as far as this goes.
Well, for me, I have not read any of the books except for the last one. And if Zach's listening, as a shout out to Zach, I didn't read the last book until after Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out. I watched it in theaters. Could not wait to find out what happened. So I read the book. And Zach always hated me for that. But I've seen all the movies in theater when they've come out. So I've been watching since 2001.
So you did go and see the first movie in theaters.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy like these types of movies. So yeah, when it came out, I went and saw it. I mean, I don't know if I went like the day it came out or anything like that, but I saw it in theaters. I have seen every Harry Potter movie in theaters. Then obviously plus maybe another time when it came out on DVD, on TV, whatever. So,
all right, Kyle, what about you?
I watched all the movies about 3 months ago, and that was the first time I watched any of those movies. So that's
so you have literally up until within the last 90 days, give or take, you had zero interaction with anything Harry Potter related.
Yeah, I had no horse in the race as far as this is concerned. Not saying I don't like it.
I think a no broomstick in the race would be more appropriate, right?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, were there brooms in that movie? I don't remember. But I did enjoy them. I did enjoy it, and that's how I've always been. Like whenever I get interested in something, I like to watch from beginning to end. I don't like waiting for another movie to come out. But once again, I think the reason why I really didn't get into it because I think it was just a time when I was really into Lord of the Rings, and I don't know, maybe just my brain just felt like I couldn't care to enjoy both. It's almost like the people who like Star Trek more than Star Wars. Maybe I don't know, but I feel like that during that time, that was around the same time when those movies were also coming out, and I don't know. I guess just the whole wizarding fantasy when I was 15 years old or 16 years old or whatever it was, just something I wasn't really interested in when I was 16 years old.
This guy is too cool for Hogwarts school.
I know, seriously. Oh, jeez.
More of a I'm definitely more of a.
Wizarding
I'm a Gandalf fan
is
more.
Too. I'm really not a fan of wizarding. I'm too cool for that. But I'm going to go ahead and watch another movie that has wizards and goblins and orcs in it.
I'm a big fan of the.
I just felt like it was like two worlds that were kind of it's kind of like parallel, where it was just like it's fantasy. Even though I guess now that I've actually watched Harry Potter, and I kind of feel bad that I waited this long, I appreciate it more because it feels like it's part of Earth, and that I didn't know. I didn't know like the Harry Potter world was actually on like by Earth I mean like London and real cities. It wasn't
it's
like
not
a
part
made
of
up
Middle Earth. It's part of planet Earth.
Right. So that I didn't know. So maybe I would have appreciated it more that way. But I don't know, man. Like I know that seems so ridiculous of me saying that because when I was 16 years old, I was fucking drinking Yoo-Hoos and watching Beast Wars, and then felt that I was too much of an adult to watch Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But whatever. I did see them, and I have a fresh memory of everything, and I do appreciate the movies and the story.
Okay, well, so as for myself, I actually read the first 3 books, and then, like you, Haddix, after I went and saw Half-Blood Prince in theaters, I immediately ran out and bought Deathly Hallows and read that. So I read 1, 2, 3, and 7, so a little bit better than you, but not much. As far as seeing when I kind of got on, I don't know if I watched the first couple movies in the theaters. I may have. But I know I read I think it was when Prisoner of Azkaban came out as a book, or right before Goblet of Fire, I should say, came out as a book, is about the time I kind of got involved. So I don't know when did the first movie come out? You say 2001?
2001, yep.
Okay, then yeah, I was, Goblet of Fire came out in 2000, so I was definitely,
You mean 2005?
Goblet of Fire came out no, I'm talking about
you're talking book.
The book or the movie?
Yeah, you're
I'm
talking
sorry.
books. You're talking,
so when Goblet of Fire book was published was in 2000. Yes. That's about when I got on board. So I probably saw all the movies in theater as well, but I was a little bit ahead of the movies, but behind of the books. Right.
Yeah.
And so, we'll kind of jump into it. And these obviously became very popular in circles that were not apparently Kyle. Kyle, you said it was you were too cool for it. And I guess I could understand that at first because it's, I think the first couple books, movies, they're going to be interchangeable. So the first couple of the series were, they had much more kid oriented, I feel like. And then it almost was like as Harry aged, the books, the movies kind of aged and became more adult themed. So, and it became one of those, I think it became so popular because it was something kids would enjoy, but, adults, teenagers, it was like almost all ages could find something they enjoy about it.
And I think that's the reason why I got excited about when it was all over. I really did get interested in wanting to see it because at the very least, I thought that the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 looked really interesting. But at the same time, if I told anybody who's a big fan of Harry Potter and I said, man, I really want to go watch the Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, they're going to be like, have you watched any of the movies? And I say no, and I would probably be crucified.
They would definitely have a curse charm for you. But I don't think you would want to see him out of order. Like you would go in there and be like, what the hell? None of this makes any sense.
No, I get that. I feel like the first maybe 2, borderline 3 movies, just, I don't know. It felt like I was, because when the third movie came out, we were all 19 years old. And so like, I don't know. I felt like it was still too young for I guess the characters were too young. When I kind of like saw the characters, I felt like there wasn't anybody that I gravitated towards. I think it was probably around the time when like, Hermione started getting boobs. I think that's when I started getting interested in that movie. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
Sure. I guess that's one way to get interested. I think it was a vastly. I mean, it got so big, and I mean, it is so big still to this day. They got theme parks
Hermione's
now.
Boobs, they got bigger throughout the movies.
But I think it was. I'm just not even going to comment. The books, this was a huge deal. This is probably, what Hunger Games and some of these other, big time series like strive to be. But I don't think there's anything that's ever that in our lifetime has been that big as far as a book series. I mean, is there anything that you guys can think of?
No, and I mean, you try to, like Hoagie was doing, you try to equate it to the Lord of the Rings. You just said Hunger Games, which was a little later on. But I don't know if any other book series, well, I guess I can't say Lord of the Rings because they did turn The Hobbit into 3 movies. So I guess it hit 6. But having 8 movies about a book series, and I know it was 7 books, but to keep everyone's interest that much. And as a matter of fact, I think Deathly Hallows, either the first or the second one, is one of the most profitable movies. So I don't think anyone's ever done it. Nor, yeah, I mean, no, I don't know if anything will ever be able to touch it. Really, I mean, they were fantastic movies.
So what do you guys enjoy about the movies, the books? I mean, what is it about this that interests you?
I mean, I think it's like any movie of this genre. It's a different world. You know, I think people love Lord of the Rings because everything was so different. It had its own.
I think it's not just only that it's a different world, but it's a very original world. Like everything that takes place with it is very different. It's like they created, like you said, with Lord of the Rings, they create their own languages and things like that. With this, it's the whole lore and how magic is done, and the different takes on it. It's not just a standard wizard school where they're just learning spells out of a spell book. It's, it's a different take on everything. She created a whole universe, all this stuff that goes on, how they can travel around. Quidditch is in there. It's a whole brand new game she created just, for the story, things like that.
Yeah, very in depth. And that's, I think when someone's imagination is so great that they can create this whole universe, it's just going to draw people in. I mean, the story, Harry's parents' storyline, and we're going to get more of that in the future here, but like just everything tying in it has been fantastic.
Well, it's an interesting thing because you brought up the parents, and I mean, we can discuss the story while we're in this part because it's, it's part of what you like about it, but it's funny to me is that's such a cliched thing, he's an orphan. Basically, Yeah. That's how many of these books and heroes and things like that are just orphans. I mean, it's all over the place, and
usually mentored by somebody who's like one of probably the more powerful or more skilled of a certain trade or ability. Like he was basically being watched over by Dumbledore. Yeah, that formula works, and it's not the first time that this formula's been used.
No, and it's trying to put your spin on it, I guess, and making sure it's not too much of, a Batman origin or a Luke Skywalker type thing. But in some ways it's Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars, and it's like you took the most popular versions and ideas and tried to create your own universe with it, and succeeded well, I think. And for me, one of the biggest things, at least early on in the books, kind of what hooked me early on was these twists that they had in there. The whole first, the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, they leave you to believe that, Snape's the bad guy and the one trying to get after Harry, and it turns out it's this, I can't even think of the other whoever the defensive dark arts teacher is, I can't think of the guy's name now. And he had
wasn't there a new defensive dark arts like in every movie though?
Yeah,
every movie. That was the whole thing. The whole theme was like every movie, the person who did defensive dark arts was either found out to be evil or retire or quit the job at the end of the movie.
Well, they all had different. Yeah, they rotated all the way through. I'm just trying to think. I think in Deathly Hallows might be the only one that they didn't have a defensive dark arts, but that's because things kind of go crazy. And they actually have a dark arts class instead, where they're teaching them dark arts because it's pretty much ruled by, Voldemort at that point. But that's one of the tropes going on through all of them. But the characters are very relatable. I think they're very, enjoyable the way they interact with one another. It's very, it's fun just the way they kind of get that all together, and it's the way they're able to make it, children's like, but keep it more adult still. I think was just very well done throughout all of the movies and the books.
I think, like we talked about how the first few seemed a little kiddish. I think she really did a good job as Harry and the other kids got older. Like, I think it was the third or fourth movie is when they kind of started to get into the love interest, which we can touch on later, but because he was around that age at that time where you start to kind of
where you start to be you're getting interested in the other people.
The opposite sex, or yeah. So, and then as they even got older towards the end of the movies, where they're young adult, maybe, getting to that adult, is when they got a little darker and, people were dying and shit like that. And to Hoagie's saying that might have been what drew in the rest of the adult crowd was, God, these movies actually look really good. Let me go back and watch them. But those first few were very kiddish, but in a good way, in a good way, because they were kids in the beginning of the,
Well,
the movie, so.
it's funny because to me, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but I feel like Goblet of Fire is almost like the turning point in the whole series. Up until that point, it was almost like each book, each movie, whatever, followed a similar formula. It's, it opens up, Harry's at home with his, I don't want to call it step parents, but whoever, the people watching
the Dudleys
him.
or whatever, or not Dudleys, the Dursleys.
Dudley boys.
No, Dudley was the kid. Dudley
Right.
Dursley was their
So,
son.
he's stuck there. They're the worst kind of adopted parents ever. He gets out. He goes to Hogwarts. Shit goes down at Hogwarts, and he ends up stopping some form of Voldemort or something at the end. That's basically what happens in the first one. A repeat in the second one. And the third one, it's a little different, but it's a similar, because then it's the Prisoner of Azkaban, and they're, Sirius Black. He thinks it's out to kill him. Turns out, that's where it starts to change a little bit. But then Goblet of Fire is when Voldemort is back. He shows up at the end. They kill Cedric, who was played by the dude from Twilight movies. And that to me is when it was like, she flipped a switch and said, okay, it's not just, I want this to be for everyone. It's going to be a little more serious. This is Voldemort's, he means business. It's not going to be one of those goony kind of bad guys. Like, he killed a boy. He's after Harry. He wants to destroy.
Actually, technically, did that rat dude kill him?
Did Peter Pettigrew kill him?
I thought obviously.
Yes, Pettigrew did the killing curse on Cedric.
Okay, well,
But
either
still,
way,
same thing though. Like, obviously he's working
and it's almost like at that point the movies changed, and it's not so much the Dursleys.
I don't even think Voldemort was alive when Cedric was killed. I don't think he was brought back just yet.
Oh, he might have been right afterwards.
It was right at that moment, one way or another.
Because I think after Cedric was killed, then that's when they bound him, grabbed his blood, and they were able to bring back Voldemort.
But yeah, what you're saying, I think the undertones of the whole movie, like even Moody, which wasn't the real Moody, he was kind of like creepy the whole movie. The whole movie was kind of like a little darker than the other ones.
Yeah. I mean, to me, they kind of changed. It's almost like if she had kept going with what she was going to do, you were almost going to get bored, because it was going to be like, okay, the same story over and over, redone in a different format. So it was nice that it changed, and it really became, by the time Deathly Hallows comes out, I mean, those are dark movies. Like that's not something that you're, to me, it was almost like she left the kid genre and was like, this is a young adult series now. Like, it was, if you were a kid when you read Sorcerer's Stone, you're at the age now where you could still appreciate and enjoy the other ones, but you're not going to give Deathly Hallows to the kid who's, 6 or 7 years old or something.
And then what you're saying, like we were saying too about the first couple of movies, the end of each book and each movie was, Harry learns a little bit more about maybe a little bit about his past. He refines his skills, and at some point thwarts some sort of evil from happening, and that happens 3 times. But we always know that there might be, he stopped the evil from coming out, and then as soon as Goblet of Fire was over and Order of the Phoenix, showed up, it was a completely different tone, because now we know that looming evil is alive and after him. I've always enjoyed my favorite parts of the whole movie. I know you asked Hags what his favorite part was, but my favorite part was honestly before he even goes into Hogwarts, the beginning part where he is living with the Muggles, living with his his aunt and uncle, whatever, and him trying to be not a wizard because he's not allowed to practice his arts or really cast any spells when he's not in the school.
Right. Yeah, he's not allowed to.
So, but at the same time, especially after Goblet of Fire, he's being attacked by Dementors and, Death Eaters are showing up out of nowhere. And this is when they're not in school. So it's a completely different take on, because before it was just he had some douchebag aunt and uncle who, locked him in a stair closet, like a stair closet, and he couldn't wait to go back to school. Whereas now he needs to go there in order to be protected because like his life's in danger ever since the Goblet of Fire.
It's funny too. Why would Harry want to go back to Hogwarts? The first couple of years anyways, it was like the Dursleys were treated him like shit. And it's like, okay, great, I get to leave. And then he goes there and like Hogwarts is awful. He's trying to get killed and all this and that. And like every year he's like, oh, I can't wait to go back to Hogwarts. It's like, why? You almost die every time. Like, it's not so bad being a servant and living under this. Actually, he ends up getting his own bedroom by the second or third book. So it's like, it's almost better, Harry, to just get treated like shit by your aunt and uncle as opposed to going to Hogwarts where you're going to be attacked and your life is at danger every way you turn.
I think the only thing I think of is that no one stays at the school when it's over. As far maybe Dumbledore does, but I think everyone else goes home.
Why would he want to go? Why would he ever want to go to Hogwarts if he was going to die every time he was at Hogwarts? Like
every time, it's like a life
would just be. Yeah. What's the lesser of two evils? Getting treated bad by your aunt and uncle, or having the Dark Lord coming and trying to kill you again?
Well, at the same time, when you're being fed the ego-driven, you're the chosen one, like everyone knows who you are and who your family was. If I grew up getting free shit all the time, they're like, you're Harry Potter? Here's this forbidden book that no one else allowed to read but you. Oh, here's this invisibility cloak. Oh, here's the top-of-the-line fucking wand. Here's the best broom you can fly. At that point, I'm like,
he's also
the perks are pretty sweet.
Quite rich, so.
Yeah, and he's like the richest man in the world somehow. I mean, that dude is the definition of like a trust fund kid. He just gets everything without doing anything.
I mean, he did destroy Voldemort as a baby, so it's not like he didn't
That's true.
He did save the world and give him years of peace.
That was something I wanted to ask. Did he actually destroy, or was the fact that Voldemort couldn't kill him and he left? I forgot what happened right after. I forgot what happened after he killed his mother. Like he left. He didn't die there.
He died, but the Horcruxes are what keeps him alive.
Right.
So I guess technically he didn't die. He died, but he technically didn't die.
His physical form wasn't walking around on Earth.
It's like Sauron. His physical form wasn't there, but he was still alive.
And it was because he tried to kill Harry, and then it reflected the spell.
Well,
the love
reflected
curse
off
or the love thing.
His mom helped protect him.
See, that part I knew. I understood he couldn't kill Harry, but I didn't think that confrontation killed him too.
Yeah, it killed Voldemort.
Yeah,
his physical form. That's at the end of Goblet of Fire is when they bring back his that's why he's like that weird little fucking thing.
He doesn't have he has nostrils but not a nose. It's a weird.
Oh, by the way,
it's a weird situation.
I was very curious too about why he would keep going back. I mean, do you know why he keeps going back home though? He keeps going back to the Dursleys. Instead of being protected by Dumbledore or something like that, why he?
I think the school makes him go back to family, right?
I believe one of the books said that there was Dumbledore put protection enchantments at the house so that Voldemort wouldn't know where he lived. So if he was, so that way.
Oh, I mean,
he's not either in the house or if he was in Hogwarts. Both of those were protected for Harry's sake.
Right. That's an interesting thing about Dumbledore. Even from the first book, Dumbledore seemed to always set Harry up to he knew that Harry was going to get in all this trouble and almost die, but he's I believe that he's going to be able to survive this attack from a deadly basilisk and this and that, and just kind of pieces out, leaves him be. But that's kind of a dick move, letting this 11-year-old boy try and take on the world. Like, you think he just would help him.
It's weird how many I guess not even weird. I mean, like you were saying earlier, if it works in the past, like with the Star Wars and things like that, you know, you kind of redo it with your own spin, but it draws a lot of parallels to Lord of the Rings. You know, there's the young kind of innocent person who basically has to take on all these struggles, but the wizard, the old wizard, even though he knows all this shit's going on, like, doesn't intervene, kind of lets him do his own thing, learn on his own and all that shit. Very similar.
Yeah, it really is. So that said, what don't you guys like about the series, or any particular ideas, or, you know, any of that?
I hate my boy Dobby died. That was my
literally might be the
moment.
saddest moment in the entire thing.
Oh, so heartbreaking. God, that was so sad. That was when the movies got real, you know?
It really did. I mean, you know, they killed Cedric off. It's like, whatever. But then, you know, then they killed Dobby. Like, they killed Hedwig, you know?
She got brutal there at the end. But one of the big things, and you and I have talked about this, Kaiser, and Hoagie, you might agree as well when you watched them. But more than I hate, I've been on record of saying this. I shouldn't say more. Just as much as I hate the
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton's not.
Well, no. Just as much as I dislike, I don't want to use the word hate. As much as I dislike Cam Newton, and as much as I dislike the Superman Wonder Woman romantic storylines, I could not stand Ron Weasley and Hermione together. I never liked it. Never enjoyed it.
It's definitely a heavily debated thing, because you almost think Hermione being the main female cast, you know, character, and Harry, like, they should have ended up together. And I think because J.K. Rowling has come out more recently now and said, like, she regrets that. She thinks Harry and Hermione should have ended up together, not Ron. But so I think what she tried to do was like, oh, everyone expects Harry and Hermione. Like, I'm gonna trick you all and put Ron and Hermione together. And I agree. Like, I'm not crazy about it. It's nothing against Ron per se. I just don't think that they should have ended up together.
I agree.
But
see, I'll be the guy that says I 100% disagree with both of you. I think it was the right way to go. If you put the two, probably the most two popular characters, and have them be the love interest, then what the hell does that do about Ron? I feel like Ron's relationship with Hermione elevates him to being part of that group. Like, Harry by himself is Harry Potter. I mean, that's what the fucking books are after. And I liked also the fact that a couple of the movies there sometimes was a love interest with Harry. And I think they did hint at sometimes where there might have been like an awkward sort of feelings between Harry and Hermione, but they kind of slowly turned into more of like a sibling relationship, that they really loved each other and cared about each other. But still, it was enough where Ron was very jealous in some of the movies, because
he was.
He felt like
there was more going on there.
Right.
Even Albus at one point was like, so, Harry, what's, the situation with you and Hermione? He's like, oh, we're just friends. And Albus is like, oh, okay, I was just curious. So when Albus Dumbledore thinks something,
I really would have felt bad if Ron was basically cast aside.
I don't know
the other
makes
reason
him cast aside.
Well, I was just going to say, J.K. Rowling actually said that she considered killing Ron off as well. So there could have been just left as like Harry and Hermione were the only two left anyways.
That would have been intense if they did that, dude.
But I'll even say this: I'm okay that they ended up together, Ron and Hermione. It was fine. I wasn't crazy about it, but I'll let it slide. I think the Harry and Ginny Weasley thing might have been the most forced love story that they could have thrown in there. I didn't understand it at all. I thought it was weird, and I think that in the movies, they try to like hint at it a little bit more, just because they knew it was coming in the books, so they like wanted to like play on it harder. But I think it was the stupidest thing.
I see. Once again, it's another disagree. I feel like the way they did it with their romance, it wasn't forced. Hell, it was hardly focused. I mean, yeah.
That's what I mean. That's why it was so forced, because there was no love there. It was like all of a sudden they're like, oh, we got a thing for each other. You're like, well, you do? Why? You like never saw each other or hung out.
Well, I mean, they were around each other a ton, especially because he used to stay over a lot at the Weasleys too. So obviously he's had
well, that just makes
time.
It weird, because that's like the Ron's 8-year-old sister, and they're like 14. I mean, it's probably a little closer than that.
I know, Kaiser, you're not going to judge, but no. But in all seriousness, once again, I feel like the whole idea of like Hermione and Harry Potter, it's just like having like the jock getting with the cheerleader to me. I've never been a big fan of that, where it's like the main character and the obvious.
You weren't the jock, dude. That's why.
Well, but once again, and Ron wasn't the jock. Ron was definitely the guy that was, the second banana to basically anything that was going on in that movie. And it was just nice to know that Hermione, found something about Ron that was attractive, and they ended up being together. And I was okay with the fact that Harry Potter's ultimate love interest was just something like that. Like, cause there was enough about Harry Potter to focus on. We didn't need also a love interest.
No, you didn't, which is why
become a cornerstone.
Jenny shouldn't have even been a part of that. It should have been, if she wants to have Ron and Hermione end up together, great. Harry's got enough on his plate to kill Voldemort and do all this. Like, he doesn't need this like side thing that wasn't really anything at all. Yeah,
but love stories stuff like that are always going to be interesting, no matter who you're going to patch it up with. I mean, he was with, I forgot what the girl before Cho, but I know that I thought there was a girl before Cho, he kissed Cho. But maybe not.
I feel like Cho got a raw deal too, because like they had a real interest. I felt there was more things going on with those two, and then all of a sudden she gets forced by Umbridge, who might be the most evil person in this all the book series, and they leave Cho out to dry because she tells them where they're practicing and this and that because she's under that truth serum or whatever. And then that's it for Cho. And I feel like that was a raw deal.
Cho no mo, right guys?
Hashtag Cho no mo.
Well, and then in the end, Neville and Luna or whatever end up together too. And I feel like that was just another one. They like just wanted to write those two into love stories.
Yeah, exactly.
They got into an unnecessary amount of love stories at the end of it that didn't need to have happen.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's true.
But that's my biggest gripe, and Haddock's kind of you actually probably started it. Hoagie, what didn't you like?
Remember how I said I really actually enjoyed the Harry Potter, the guy living amongst humans, muggles. I really did enjoy that, but on the flip side of that, there was nothing more cringing than the Dursleys. I couldn't stand the Dursleys. Like, and maybe it's just
and not in the way that you're not supposed to. Like, obviously, they were created to be
right. They were supposed to be kind of revolting people. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, kind of, they're kind of the fat, or at least the father. Is like a fat, pompous, douchebag, and
I actually thought Petunia, I think that's her name, was
the mother was the worst. Mother was worse.
I thought by like the fourth or fifth movie, she was looking pretty good. I was actually giving props to Mr. Dursley.
I mean, you like what you like, I guess. But the problem I had, though, once again, is that it was so. I understand the whole. They kind of reluctantly took the kid in. They understand who he. I think they did understand who he was supposed to be at some point, and they just didn't want. They didn't want to be involved in it, so they were trying to suppress.
Well, they always showed that. I mean, they showed, I think, in the final movie about. Because Lily was Harry's mom was the sister,
right? And she didn't like her sister,
and they hated each other. And she always called her a creep and things like that. So I think she thought like was like just repulsed by that side of by her sister, and then in turn like the family, Harry being a part of that.
But I feel like it was to a level that's not even remotely real. It was almost like stuck at a time how revolting that family was. Like the things that they did wouldn't even be what people did or would do. It almost just seemed like it was comical.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it was very childish.
It was over the top.
over the top, right? It was
Yeah.
It was understandable for a first movie or a first book, first movie when your target audience is, kids ages 7 and 8.
But they kept it going when he was a teenager.
Right.
Like it was just at that point it made no sense whatsoever, and I just couldn't stand any scene where I know for a fact they're just going to be shitty to Harry for no reason, or like, I don't know. There were just some of those scenes I just felt like, man, just fast forward to when he's leaving, going to Hogwarts. It really is cringeworthy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. They were kind of just worthless by the end of it. They became very pointless characters after the first couple of series, books, whatever. But okay, so what were your guys' favorite moments in any of the books, or favorite characters, anything like that, favorite stories? What did you enjoy, most about everything?
I think my favorite part was that realization in the second movie, so it would be the last book, where you kind of go through this whole thing, the whole series, where you like Snape, you don't like Snape. For the most part, you don't like Snape. And then there's that thought in the back of your mind that he's evil. And then you see the scene. I don't know how it happened in the I guess I did read the book, so I think it happens the same way. It's been a while since I've read it. But he kills Dumbledore. And then you're like, wow, I really hate this guy now. He killed my boy, Dumbledore. And then when you finally find out, like, the real stuff where he, like, gets the tear from him or whatever, and, like, looks at his memories, and he was basically protecting Harry ever since Harry's mom died because he was in love with Harry's mom. And, Dumbledore told him to kill him so they could get closer to like, that whole, she did such a good job making you not like this character and then making you just absolutely love it. Like, I loved Snape.
You almost feel like, bad. You feel bad for him. He's almost a tragic character because it's, you're like, well, he really was a heroic thing. He loved Lily Potter until the end, but Lily Potter was kind of she's mean to bitch him. Move to him. Like, they grew up as friends because Lily was a weirdo because she could do magic. Her sister hated her. Her and Severus become tight. Severus, they grew up as friends, they're this and that, and then she gets sorted to Gryffindor and he goes to Slytherin. And then after that, she, like, falls in love with James, who's a dickhead to Severus. And she's still kind of, like, friendly with him the whole time, and he is almost pathetically still in love with her, right up until the end. And it's like...
And then he vows to take care of her kid. After that.
He has
watch over her kid.
No reason he should have done any of that. And he does, and he is by far a greater person than either James or Lily Potter could ever be. Oh god!
And like that's my favorite. How she wrote all that, and how she was able to make us feel, such, I don't want to say hatred, but such disgust for him early on. Like, God, I hate him. Like, he hates Harry and he's a bad guy. And then he, like, just completely 180s it. And when he dies, when Voldemort kills him, and it's like real sad. It was such a good part of the storyline. And I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. We kind of say Dobby dying is a very sad moment. I would actually probably more seriously argue that Snape's death there is like the most touching moment, like the most it's like really upsetting moment.
Well, I mean, he's been a huge part of every movie for the most part. I mean, and to have him die like that in the last one, very touching, very touching.
Kyle,
Well, I was gonna go Snape, you asshole, but and it's the easy one to pick too, but just because like the whole atonement of him was done really, really well. So then the second one I think I really enjoyed, and I keep feeling like I'm like a Weasley shipper, but I like them. I do like the family, but
they're a great family. There's there's nothing wrong with the Weasleys at all. They're a great family.
I know, but I feel like, we shit on Ron, but when Fred Weasley dies, and then his mother just goes ape shit and kills Bellatrix.
Yeah, she does.
Like,
calls her a bitch and everything too.
Yes, not my daughter, you bitch.
Mama Weasley goes off.
Yeah, and especially because I don't see her doing anything in the whole movie, and then she just in motherly rage.
Right, other than knitting sweaters for him, she's pretty much not much of anything in there. And her husband's not much of anything himself.
Exactly, and that's my second favorite. Other than the whole the memories of storyline. And then I think I forgot what they called it. The whole Elder Wand cloak, Resurrection Stone.
The Deathly Hallows?
Deathly Hallows.
That one, I like the story that they told about it. As far as the brothers and everything, I thought that was a really cool.
It was a cool story. How about in the movie when they actually show that scene when they're talking about the story and they're Hermione's reading it? And the way they actually show it on screen, they kind of do this shadowy, puppety sort of effect. I thought it was very different in the movie.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good storytelling method.
Yeah, it was, but it was just it was almost out of place, but it was okay the way it was done. Yeah. Instead of her tell the story and them actually just do a flashback or something like that where they're trying to show it. They kind of did it in this weird effect, and I thought it was different.
They also said a lot that the three brothers story is also a theory that it's actually a representation of Snape, Harry, and Voldemort. As far as the Elder Wand, the Invisible Cloak, and the Resurrection Stone, which I've just only recently been kind of reading up on the theories about it. But they said that was supposed to the whole Deathly Hallows represented that, with Dumbledore serving as death.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I will say I thought Deathly Hallows did a good job of almost tying in everything from the previous books, movies, whatever, all together. They did call back to the basilisk teeth and or fangs or whatever, and the diary. I wonder if she originally intended for these Horcruxes to be a thing, and if the diary was originally supposed to be a Horcrux, or at some point in books 4 or 5, she's like, "Oh, I got this idea where I'm gonna have all these different parts," and it's well, let's tie some of these previous things back into it, and I'll make a comment about the diary and that. That
is a good question. You wonder how much of it is pre-thought,
how much was planned out. George
Yeah.
R.R. Martin writing the Game of Thrones series, I think most of this has been planned out from day one. Maybe some of the details haven't, but a lot of the general overlaying story. I wonder if she just wrote a book, with the Philosopher's Stone, and then wrote Chamber of Secrets, and then at some point down the line was okay, I got something going here. Let me lay out a little bit more long term. And sort of tied some of that together.
Yeah. That's a good question. We'll have to ask her when she's on the podcast next week.
Yeah, we'll have to bring her on in favor. Or
she owes us some favors, obviously.
I mean, we're promoting her stuff right now, so I feel like it's only.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she's appreciating that extra revenue. She's already. I think she's easily among the richest people in the world.
She would be a billionaire if she had not donated so much money to charity. So.
What a sucker, right?
One thing I forgot, I want to move back for a minute because it absolutely annoys the shit out of me, and I want to see what your guys' feelings are. The thing I probably hated most was the 19 years later scene they shoot at the end of Deathly Hallows, where all of a sudden it's Hermione and Ron and Harry and Ginny all current child actors made to look like they're in their late 30s, early 40s, which I think just looks bizarre. And they have their kids, and then they just send them off to Hogwarts. Other than the fact that they show that he named one of his sons Albus Severus to, honor Albus Dumbledore and Severus Snape.
Snape.
I feel like that was the only worthwhile thing to take out of that scene, and otherwise I thought it was really unnecessary to put that in there, and I think they could have wrapped the movie up much better. And I think it's actually done in the books too that way. And I think they could have done something better than that. Yeah, I agree. And one, it also kind of handcuffs you if for some reason later on you want to do more. It absolutely handcuffs you for that. And when we discuss the cursed child next week, that topic will be brought up again.
There you go. That's like the perfect.
That's how you tease for next week's episode.
Well done.
And actually, it brings up a good question. Do you guys think there are room for sequels in this story? Obviously, they're making the Fantastic Beasts movies, but that's just set in the world, not at this particular time period. And the Cursed Child book is obviously there. But do you guys think that there are more in the Daniel Radcliffe era Harry Potter for sequels and things like that? Is there something that you would like to see?
I mean, the Voldemort's dead, so I feel like they're going to have to. I mean, dead. You
could always resurrect him. They could find some stupid reason. It's magic.
Yeah, but then that would be stupid. And I'm sure everyone's going to give their money.
I agree
to read
with
the
that.
book and watch it. But I mean, if someone told me like Voldemort's Return, here's the next book of the Return of Voldemort. Yeah, everyone's going to throw money to read it. But I mean, and also just so everyone knows too, Fantastic Beasts is Where to Find It is a prequel. I think it's like 70, 80 years before.
Well, but I'm not even going to call it a prequel because it's just set in the world. It's not even like it's what led up.
Yeah, it's not
going
to lead. It doesn't lead up.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't lead to it. But me, it's like it takes place in the 30s or 40s.
Yes, to me, a prequel would be the James and Lily Potter story as in their time at Hogwarts. And Tom Riddle's rise to power. Like that to me is the prequel that would happen in this. It's almost like the Star Wars prequels where it showed you how Darth Vader got his thing. Even though with these ones you kind of know some of the backstory from all of this. You know, from these current books, you kind of know where Tom Riddle came from.
I actually think that, or I wouldn't be surprised if in 5-10 years from now when what the fuck is Harry's real name? The actor that
Daniel
plays
Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe.
God, Jesus, when Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, and I don't know Ron Weasley's name in real life either. Whatever his name in real life is. I think when they're older, when they're actually in their 30s or 40s, I could see them. What'd you say?
Rupert Grint.
Rupert Grint.
There you go. I could see them doing some, I guess, sequels, you know, and going from. I really could see them doing that. I don't think they'll take place right afterwards, but
no, I think it would almost be like a Force Awakens kind of thing where it's
later
30 years later or whatever.
Yeah, I could definitely see him doing something and doing exactly what Force Awakens is doing. They're there. The characters are there, but they're not the main, focus of the show.
The kids are, at
their kids are, or maybe, like Hermione's a teacher at Hogwarts now, and we have these new kids come, like something like that. I feel like they've made too much money to not do something. You know what I mean? Like
now that
they're going to do something.
They're doing the Fantastic Beasts movie, and they're already making a sequel to it, which is a discussion we can have in a couple of weeks as well. That, but it'll be interesting to see as we kind of wrap things up here. Final thoughts? Anything that we haven't discussed that you want to make a comment about? Hoagie, I'll let you start.
One thing I want to ask real quick, because I'm just reading the rundown and maybe we talked about it and I missed it while I was pulling up stuff like who the hell was Ron Weasley, but You put
Ron
something here
Weasley
about
was Harry's friend.
Yeah, I know.
The redheaded guy.
You have something in here for the house cups. Did you mention? Did you talk about it at all?
No, we didn't. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what that was about. I'll be honest. When you read that, I was actually very confused of what
picking up houses.
No, when they do the houses and they had 10 points for Gryffindor, and it seemed like at the end it was like Gryffindor's in last place, and then Albus is like, well, I'm going to give them 100 points for this, 50 points for that, 70 points for that, and they're going to win now.
It was like, whose line is it anyway?
Exactly. Yeah, it's yeah.
Well, it's like they lose the most points, but then it's like but Harry did destroy one of the Horcruxes.
So Harry kind of saved everybody from Voldemort, so they're gonna win. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's either you win by points or you win by default. And I think stopping Voldemort's a default at that point. As far as my final thoughts about it, I definitely feel I regret not watching them as they went, even though my behavior has always been binge everything that I ever watch. Obviously,
your lifestyle is just binge in general.
Binge and purge, man. Binge and purge. But I definitely enjoyed the last three movies, even though I didn't see them until later, were enough for me to feel like wanting to go back and watch the other ones. Like I said, when I was 15, 16 years old, when you're a 15, 16-year-old hormonal teenager, I had other things in my mind. But I am glad that I got into it, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Now, I will say I've never read any of the books, and I'm not a reader. Okay, just this, I get sleepy.
Your English teacher mother would be so proud.
Oh my God, my mother would love it if I actually opened up a book. My wife would love it if I ever read a book. Well, that's it. That's all it is for me. I did enjoy the stories. I think Ron deserves Hermione, and yeah, that's it.
Haddix, final thoughts?
I mean, what Hoagie said, and if you have any interest in the fantasy genre or that kind of stuff, I think the movies, at least the movies, are definitely worth watching. They're amazing movies.
I agree on that. For me, I will say Order of the Phoenix might have been my favorite of the entire series, and I think the wand battle between Albus Dumbledore and Lord Voldemort reminded me of that Darth Vader Obi-Wan lightsaber battle. It was like lightsabers with wands, and the way they were, kind of using the environment around them too. It was almost like, it reminded me much about that, and I think it was a cool way. I think just in general, the way they had wand dueling in that was a very, very neat aspect, and something I think is that visually, the way they made in the movies overall, I think they did a great job with, and they really were able to make the world come alive, and highly recommend the movies if you have not seen them.
Agreed.
And coming up next week, we will be discussing The Cursed Child, so if you haven't read it, go read it. It's a quick read. It's not bad. And always a reminder, subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us that review. Let us know what you thought about the Harry Potter movies. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And gotta be honest, guys, I don't have any way of tying the Harry Potter world into Cleveland and San Francisco. So I'm gonna pull out a classic. From the Great Lakes to the Golden Gate. I am Josh Kaiser. He is Josh Haddix. He is Kyle Hoagland. And we will see you next time.
Have a good Friday.
pseudonerdpod.com. See ya.